Yo guys, what's going on? It's Rose here, bringing you guys a brand new draft league. I don't think you guys understand how excited I am for this. We're going to be a part of the WPF this season. We actually got invited by my good buddy Thomas, who is actually helping run the Delta division, which is the Wi-Fi division. This is a team takeover video. So we're not going to be going over super in-depth of the draft and of the team or anything like that. This is only for a few weeks. We actually are starting in week 7, and there's only, I think, 9 weeks of the season. So we're only going to be playing 3 games, but we're going to be making the most of it. We're going to be trying our very best to win these games, and I'm super, super, super thankful that we got invited for this. This is going to open amazing doors for us, and I'm super, super excited for that. But yeah, let's go ahead. Let's get right into this little team takeover. I did make a few, changes to the team after after I was invited. You were allowed like 24 hours of basically free trades once I got in, and I only made a few. I don't want to change it too much. Honestly, the board was very, very barren, so there wasn't much I could do anyway. But nonetheless, super excited for this, you guys. Let's go ahead. Let's get right into it. In case you didn't notice, our first mon is Torn T. This is actually also our Terra mon. We get one Terra captain that can terrestrialize into any type. Now, this was originally a part of the team. I was kind of considering shopping it. I kind of fielded some offers. Nothing really spoke to me too much, and I decided to keep it. And honestly, I'm kind of excited for it. This thing is very, very good. It did lose a little utility by losing defog in this generation, just like basically every fucking Pokemon that had it previously. But it's still really good. It has 121 base speed, 110 special attack. I mean, this thing's really, really fast, hits really hard, gets great pivot and momentum with U-turn. Still gets, hits hard with Hurricane. It gets Bleak Windstorm now thanks to Legends Arceus. It also gets things like Heat Wave. And with terrestrialization, this thing has an infinite number of sets. Nasty Plot is actually one of the best sets. It's always been one of the best sets for this thing, and it's even scarier because of Terra. But I'm super excited to have this on the team, and I'm really excited to show you guys what we got coming up next. Now, this next one, within 5 minutes of me being announced as the replacement coach, I had 3 different coaches ask me if they could trade for this mon. 3. I had several coaches ask me to trade this mon, and then I had a different coach that asked me to trade it to somebody on their behalf. Not even like the same, like I had John Jr. ping me in the Discord server asking me to send it to I forget who it was. But yeah, John's like, yeah, can you give it to XY? Like, no. I'm not giving it up. But that mon is going to be Ursaluna. I'm so excited to use Ursaluna, you guys. This thing is a monster with its 140 base attack with Guts and Facade boosted. It's amazing. It hits so hard. This thing gets Trailblaze and it gets so many good coverage moves. It's so bulky. It gets amazing abilities between Guts and I believe it's Bulletproof is its other ability. This thing hits super, super hard. It's very slow, so obviously these two things don't exactly, in that regard, we got 2 complete ends of the spectrum. We got something that's super, super fast, and then something that basically doesn't have any speed whatsoever. It's a base, 30 speed or something. It's very slow, but nonetheless, this thing's super bulky, hits super hard, and I'm very excited to see what we can do with it this season between Facades and Headlong Rushes, Crunches, I think it gets Play Rough and Gunk Shot, and Ice Plant. I mean, this thing gets amazing coverage. I'm super excited to use it, you guys. I love Ursaluna. I've seen this thing do some work. I've also seen it do absolutely nothing. So I'm hoping we can do the former and not the latter. But only time will tell. We only got a few weeks left. We're pretty much not going to make playoffs. I think it's just about guaranteed. In order for me to make playoffs, I would have to win out, and a few other things would have to fall my way. So we're probably not going to make playoffs, so you'll probably only see 3 videos of this, but that's okay. We're going to be doing our best. That's all that matters. Next up, we got Glamora on our team as well. This thing, it's actually really good. Between its, it being one of the few, good removers in the game with Mortal Spin, this thing also has an amazing ability that sets up Toxic Spikes every single time that it's hit for contact. And then it obviously gets normal, gets T-Spikes normally. It's one of the few Pokemon that still gets Toxic, or that has Toxic, period. It gets Stealth Rocks. I mean, this thing hits very hard. It gets things like Energy Ball and its dual step of Rock and Poison between Sledge Wave and Power Gem. This, yeah, like I said, Energy Ball. I believe it gets Dazzling Gleam as well. It gets Earth Power. This thing is phenomenal. Between it, we can run it like Focus Sash, lead, set up a Stealth Rock, get a T-Spike up potentially. Or we can like run its specs between its moves that it gets. I mean, this thing has a lot of utility, and I'm honestly really excited to use it. I like Glamora. I used it in a Showdown League. I didn't use it very well, I feel like, so I'm excited to give it some new life in a Wi-Fi League. Super excited for it. Next up, we got Klefki. Now, I saw Klefki there, and I was a little underwhelmed because I'm not the biggest fan of Klefki, and obviously since it lost Defog this generation, it's gotten worse, but it still gets dual screens, it still gets, Thunder Wave, it's, its prankster abilities for those, and it gets things like Foul Play, it gets decent moves, so it's not going to be terrible, it's going to be good for us, being able to set up screens for things like the Ursaluna or the Torn T, as well as, I believe it's a Trick Room setter as well, so we could always do that, but this thing, honestly, it's not going to do much, I'm not expecting it to do much, it's just going to be here to facilitate our team, hopefully. But honestly, not too much to say. I was looking to drop this thing when I took over this team, but there's literally no other steel types on the board. I think all of them are taken. I think there might be one on the board, but I just was not willing to take it. And I'd honestly just rather keep something that's at least pretty decent, that I don't really want to use that much, versus something that I might want to use that's significantly worse. So, I'll take what I can get. This thing's not crazy, but it'll still, put in some work for us, I think. Next up, we got Frostlass. Now, this is actually one of the changes I made to the team. Originally, this was Mismagius, but I wanted to do some other stuff, and Frostlass ended up being cheaper than Mismagius, and honestly, I think that's a crime, because it's faster. It doesn't hit as hard, I don't think, but it's, it gets things like spikes, which obviously Mismagius doesn't. And with its Curse Body ability, it's really, really solid. Its 110 speed tier is really good. It helps us kind of mitigate our speed tiers a little bit, gives us a really good transition from that 121 with Torn T to the 110 with Frostlass, and obviously it drops down to 86 with Glamora. I don't know if Klefki's, I think Klefki's like base 75, so it's not anything crazy. But between Frostlass and Torn T, that's a really good, speedy, offensive core, and I'm really excited to use Frostlass. I've never used it in Draft League, I don't think, and so we're getting a chance to use it here, and I'm really excited to do so. But yeah, like I said, between spikes and it getting things like Ice Beam and Shadow Ball, it gets Thunderbolt, I believe it gets Dazzling Gleam as well, it gets things like Destiny Bond, so we can always, run some shenanigans like that. I believe it gets Calm Mind as well. I mean, this thing gets some pretty good coverage. It was better in Gen 8, in my opinion, just because of it getting things like Triple Axle. Also, apologize for the back if there's anything in the background. I have a plane going over my house right now, so excuse that. But yeah, Frostlass, an amazing mod, super excited to use it, and for 6 points, I get a lot of usage out of it. Next up, we got Rotom-O. It's not as good as Rotom Heat. It is still pretty solid. It lost things like Defog, and it lost Pain Split as well this generation, obviously along with Toxic, like basically everything in the game. There's like 10 or 15 Pokemon that get Toxic now, and most of them are Poison types, so honestly, like Rotom-O is still pretty good. It gets Volt Switch, it gets things like Volt Switch, it gets obviously Leaf Storm as its like not even like signature move, but it's really the only Grass type move that this thing gets. It gets Trick as well, which is always helpful for us. Things like Will-O-Wisp and Thunder Wave with Hex are very good. It gets Shadow Ball if we don't want to run those and we just want to hit something pretty hard to begin with. And 86 speed, it does match that speed with Glamora, but honestly, I'm not too worried about it. We do pick up some good speed later in the draft, or not later in the draft, but we do have some good speed later on in our roster. Next up, we got Slowbro. Now, I know I just talked about good speed, and this is the complete opposite of that. But hear me out. I have a Trick Room setter for my Ursaluna. That's really all you need to know about it. I mean, this thing, it lost a ton of things. It lost Scald, it lost Knockoff, I think. Yeah, because I think it got Knockoff in previous generations, unless I'm crazy. But it lost Scald, it lost, Teleport, which really sucks. But this thing still has a good utility. It's a really good bulky water. It's something that we need to switch into physical hits, because we really don't have that right now. I mean, Ursaluna can kind of switch into some physical hits, but a good fighting type kind of just clicked buttons on most of our team, and considering most fighting types get rock coverage, I didn't have, or rock and ground coverage. Basically nothing on my team really wanted to deal with a fighting type, and now I have like the best fighting type switching in the game, or at least one of them. It's amazing. So I'm super excited for that. Slowbro, really good, love using it. I've used it once or twice before, and it did really well for me. Obviously that's in previous generations, where it got things like Teleport and Scald, but I still think with things like Surf and Thunder Wave, it's gonna still facilitate the team pretty well, and I'm excited to use it again. Next up, we got the regular Paldea Tauros. This is another change I made to the team. Originally, this was Fire Tauros, but I changed it to regular Tauros to save a few points on something I'm planning on picking up later. But then you're seeing us rounding out our speed tiers as well. We got that 121 with Torn T, got 110 with Frostlass, now we got 100 with Tauros here. So we're starting to round out our speed tiers very, very well. This thing still hits pretty hard. It gets Intimidate, gets things like Close Combat. Raging Bull doesn't change types like it would with the other two forms. But this thing, like I said, still hits pretty hard with its Close Combat, and honestly, we don't need it to hit super hard. This thing is really just like an Intimidate switch-in, but we can also run some Cud Chew. I think it's Cud Chew is its berry ability. I think that's what it's called. We can run some shenanigans with that, and we can kind of make some people very confused. But yeah, honestly, base 100, pretty solid speed tier for us. Helps us round that out a bit, and super excited to use it. Tauros, I love Tauros. I used Water Tauros in the DDL Season 1, and now we're using the regular one, so kind of cool for us there. Next up, we got Hydreigon. This was on the original team as well. Base 98 speed tier, so we're kind of keeping that same thing with the Tauros, around that base 100. But this thing is amazing. It gets U-turn. It lost Defog. I believe it gets Stealth Rocks. I don't remember if it still does or not. But regardless, I mean, things like with this thing getting U-turn, it gets amazing coverage with its dual stab. It gets Fire Blast, Earth Power, Flash Cannon. I think it gets water coverage for whatever fucking reason. I mean, there's not a ton that wants to switch into a Nasty Plot boosted Hydreigon, or I think it still gets Dragon Dance, so we can even do something with that. But we're only here for a few games, you guys. I think, you guys, forget that. It's like we're here for only a couple weeks. So we're here to have fun, and I'm gonna be using some stuff that I'm gonna want to use, and I'm gonna obviously try and win, but I'm gonna have the most fun I possibly can, because I looked at the rest of the 3 games that I have to play, and I'm terrified. So let's, well, you guys will see. You guys will see who our first opponent is. And then I believe this is the last member of our team here. Yes, we're gonna be rocking with Arcanine. This is the thing that I wanted. This is the reason why I dropped Fire Tauros and picked this up. This is an amazing fire type, super bulky, hits really hard with things like Banded Flare Blitzes and extreme speeds. It still gets really good facilitation with Will-O-Wisp. It runs boots. It doesn't have Teleport anymore, which sucks. A lot of things lost Teleport in Gen 9. Lost a lot of pivot and lost a lot of utility with so many Pokemon in this generation, which again, it sucks. But honestly, I'm really having fun in this generation, and I'm really excited to use this team. But regardless, Arcanine has been one of the premier Pokemon of its typing since its induction in Gen 1. Like, it's been amazing, or at least a very solid option for teams since Draft League was invented way back, God knows when, long time ago. And it's still one of the best Pokemon for its type, at least for what it's usually priced at. I think this was like 10 points for a 95 speed. I think it's like 110 attack or something. I don't remember his exact attack stat, but like I said, hits really hard. It's pretty fast. It's pretty bulky as well. It still gets Morning Sun still, which is amazing for us. But regardless, you guys, I'm super excited to use this team. This team is honestly, for what was left on the board, this team's pretty solid. I'm not gonna lie. Like I said, I'm really excited to use this team. I'm so thankful to Thomas for, inviting me in this season for the last few weeks. And you know what? Honestly, I'm really excited to play out the rest of these few games and see what we can do, guys. I will say, like I said, shout out to Thomas and shout out to the rest of the Delta mod team, as well as Rizzo, who is the owner of WPF. I was in WPF way back when it was a small town league. Back in Gen 7 for the first 5 seasons I participated, and now the main league is up to season 14. So it's obviously been a while since I've played in the WPF, and we're back. We're back in the WPF, and we are going to make ourselves known. I want to prove to myself and to other coaches that I deserve to be here, that I deserve to be a part of this, and that I've earned my place, not just because I'm not just here because of me being friends with someone on the mod team. I'm here because I deserve to be here. I want to prove that. We only have 3 games, like I said. I want to win and try and squeeze a playoff spot out of something. I really don't expect us to. So, in the very end, as long as we can kind of show that we are supposed to be here, I'm happy with that. If we go 0-3 in these last few games, I'm okay with that. If we go 3-0, I'm very fucking okay with that. Or anywhere in between, honestly. I'm just thankful to be here, guys. I hope you guys are excited for WPF. I hope you guys are excited as I am. And I will see you guys in I guess I was going to say week 1. It's week 7. So I'll see you guys in week 7 versus our first opponent, who I'm not going to reveal yet, because you'll guys see that here soon. So peace out, YouTube.